Alright, now I know what some of you are thinking. Joe, what kind of clickbait booby game is it this time? But hear me out, folks. I have really enjoyed some of Pippin Game's last few efforts, which include Kawaii Desu and Wife Quest. In fact, Kawaii Desu is a game that I often mention here on the channel and have even included on a list of hidden indie gems. Wife Quest was a competent little side-scroller that I also had some fun with, but of course your enjoyment of these games will typically come down to your tolerance for the aesthetics. Me personally, I'm not the type to be easily offended, and so I've never been all that bothered over exaggerated artwork and themes. But that said, plenty of people are offended by this stuff, and so fair warning, if you fall into the category of finding these games repulsive, this review won't be for you, and I totally respect that. I will say, of the Pippin Game releases that I've played, Maiden Cops is perhaps the most, risque? Plenty of bouncing breasts, collectible panties, and over-the-top artwork. That's just some of what you can expect here, though the game in my experience never really earned a full-on adult rating. Furthermore, underneath its either entertaining or eye-rolling exterior, depending on which side of the fence you land on, is an interesting beat-em-up that attempts to pay tribute to arcade classics of the late 80s and 90s. But is Maiden Cops the breast of the breast, or does it need cosmetic surgery? Let's find out in our full review.
Go, go, go! Hey! Hop!
Real quick, you know the gaming echo chamber is too scared to cover games like this, so consider helping us continue to shine a light on smaller indie releases. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames where you can gain Discord access, early ad-free shows, and so much more. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Maiden Cops is an arcade-style brawler similar to classics such as Final Fight or Streets of Rage. What sets it apart is pretty obvious, an over-the-top premise and a visual aesthetic that caters to a very specific audience. In a way, it's unfortunate that the ridiculous character designs and artwork of the game will mean some gamers who enjoy brawlers will never come close to playing this one. Why is that a shame, you might ask? Because Maiden Cops is actually a really fun game. The Maiden Cops are made up of 3 monster girls. Nina, who has bunny ears and looks way too young for this game to the point where the developers clarify that she's the oldest of the group. Priscilla, who has some sort of reptilian tail growing out of her back. And then I'll just call the third girl Cowgirl because she appears to be part cow. I'm getting way too old for this crap. Say what you will about the ridiculous art of this game, but the developers are committed to fleshing out these characters and the world that they inhabit. The Maiden Cops are created to patrol the city and keep things safe, but reports are out there that they've been slacking off a bit lately by playing video games on the job and eating a bunch of candy. Nina, the again way too young-looking bunny girl, is claiming to her boss that this is all an elaborate hoax and the media are trying to discredit the girls, when suddenly a massive explosion within the city occurs. The accident seems to have come from a nearby prison, which springs the Maiden Cops into action and sets off the greater adventure. The premise is just as silly as you would expect. Boob jokes and sexual innuendos are littered throughout the script, and while the characters are a little too weird for me to find endearing, the game did get a chuckle or two out of me. There's a good amount of dialogue as you battle your way through the story mode, which takes around 3 hours total to complete. It's not the writing itself that I found all that funny, more so the ridiculousness of it all. You can't say that Pippin Games aren't trying to build a universe here. Characters all have unique personalities, which are brought to life through some really fantastic pixel art animations. They've even gone as far as to include an unlockable comic book within the game that looks fantastic. So yes, the story and universe didn't grab me personally, but the commitment to making the Maiden Cops a thing is admirable. To go back to that pixel art for a moment, for me it was perhaps the most impressive aspect of the entire game. The animations are just wonderful, with characters moving fluidly and featuring many expressions similar to other classic anime. As you bash away at your foes, their eyeballs will pop out of their sockets, boobs will bounce every which direction, and characters' hair will sway back and forth. As someone who loves great pixel art and animation, I couldn't help but be impressed with the art team, even if the game won't be for everyone thematically. Pippin Games has a serious talent for pixel art that can't be denied. The backdrops are also fairly well detailed, with your cliché cityscapes dominating much of the game. This isn't to say you won't see other locations, such as a barroom and even the beach. Of course, a game like this had to have the beach level, right? All of this is to say, I thought Maiden Cops looked really great and captured the spirit of a classic arcade brawler. This is further helped by excellent sound design. Punches land with a satisfying thud, and while the girls will let out their share of yelps, I honestly didn't find some of these sound effects as annoying as they can be in other arcade brawlers. I got a kick out of the adorable way the girls would say, "Go, go, go," in time with the on-screen indicator that tells you to scroll forward. The soundtrack itself is also pretty good, featuring upbeat rockers full of screaming lead guitars. The sound team has done their research on what classic arcade games should sound like, and it shows. In terms of gameplay, Maiden Cops plays it much safer than it does with its artistic style. It's a pretty standard brawler with your basic attack along with the ability to grab weapons and even toss them at foes. Each character does have unique attributes, however, especially Cowgirl, who can pick up heavier items that dish out more damage. It was nice that not every character felt exactly the same and had their own advantages and disadvantages. Outside of your standard attacks, you can of course jump and perform air attacks, run at enemies, and there's even a block and parry system. You can probably guess how many times I use that feature, but it's nice that it exists. Players can also execute a dodge roll, as some levels do have hazards outside of enemies, and this game actually has 3 different special attacks per character, which is pretty cool. Much like other arcade brawlers, these specials will need to recharge and can eat up a little bit of your health bar. There's also grabbing and throwing, as you might expect, but my favorite part of the gameplay was the air juggling. It could be pretty entertaining to chain together combos and bounce enemies off the side of the screen. While not offering anything new, Maiden Cops does enough to feel like a competent brawler, even if it can be a little on the slow side at times. In the end, the game plays out much like any other in its genre. Defeat all the enemies on screen, bust open barrels for power-ups and to earn points, and take down the boss at the end of each area. Fans of the traditional arcade brawler gameplay loop should feel satisfied with this one. As far as modes of play are concerned, Maiden Cops features a Maiden Classic mode, which allows for an infinite amount of continues, though should you die too many times, you'll eventually stop earning points that contribute towards unlockables. The arcade mode will give you 5 lives and allows you to compete on leaderboards. I only briefly tested the arcade mode, but made it through all of Maiden Classic. Either way, it's nice to have options and ways to test yourself further. On the topic of unlockable items, this is an area where I feel like Pippin games have always done a nice job. That's no exception in Maiden Cops, where you can earn songs, some sexy photos, which from the ones I unlocked did not seem to contain any nudity, some fun cheats are here, and even profiles that will tell you more information about the characters. The unlockables offer enough incentive to keep players coming back for a few more rounds of play. While playing Maiden Cops, I didn't run into any major performance issues. However, I will say the game only allows for 2 players locally, despite having 3 selectable characters. I felt this was a little bit of a missed opportunity to have 3 players locally at once. As I stated at the top of this review, Maiden Cops is not a game for everyone, but it is a pretty solid brawler at the end of the day. I think the pixel art is really well done, the game sounds good, and as someone who plays a lot of games in this genre, 3 this week alone, it felt pretty good without any glaring hit detection issues. If you can get past some of the over-the-top art and kind of awkward character designs, looking at you bunny girl, then Maiden Cops is worth adding to your brawler collection. Here at I Dream of Indie Games, we believe games are so much more than a number, which is why we rate titles with our 3 genie lamp tier system. A bronze lamp represents a good game with quite a few issues, a silver lamp represents a great game with just a few small nagging issues, and the elusive golden genie lamp of approval is for indie releases that are essential for your library. We also have the rusty lamp for mediocre titles and the dreaded indie Krampus for titles that must be avoided at all costs. And when it comes to Maiden Cops, I'm going to award this one the bronze genie lamp of approval.
Go, go, go!